Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to share with you a review of the new Violet Voss Flamingo eyeshadow palette. I'm also going to be sharing a tutorial on this eye look. So if you guys want to know my thoughts about this new palette, then just keep on watching. Violet Voss Flamingo palette is now available. It's available on the Violet Voss website and also on Sephora.com. That's where I got mine, and it is $45. This palette, I bought it because of the packaging, basically. I just kept seeing a bunch of spoilers online or just like on Instagram, and I was super drawn to it. Like the colors in here, I don't have colors like this in my collection, especially in a palette like this. There are 20 shades, 10 matte, 10 shimmer shades, and then you also get a mirror. It's kind of like powdery. We'll get to that with the eyeshadow formula because you can see the fallouts already in this palette. So I'm actually just gonna go ahead and go right into swatches, swatch all 20 shades, and then I'll let you guys know my thoughts about the formula. Alright, so starting off with this first row of the first 4 shades. The first shade is called Flamingos, and this is kind of like a corally peachy color, more of a corally orange shade. And then the next shade is a shimmer shade, and it's the shade Donut, which is a foiled, very pink, like hot pink shade. Next we have the shade Flip Flops, which is kind of like a purpley pink shade. It has some orange in there too. It looks different in different light. And then the last shade in the first row is the one that's on my lid today, the shade Bikini. And then moving right into the second row, which has some of the blue shades. The first one is called Ocean Front. This is like a matte teal color, and that one you will have to build up for sure when you're blending it out. But then the next shade, Tidal Wave, this one applies on the eye. I need to do an Instagram tutorial with this shade. It applies on the eye so nicely and super pigmented. Then next we have a matte green shade called Beach Ball. This one is really like super subtle. Like it swatches really patchy, and then yeah, like the green and blue shades that are matte in this palette, really difficult to work with. And then next we have the shade Watermelon, which is more of like a pinky tone matte shade. It has a little bit of a shimmer in it, but it's subtle. And then next we have the shade Lemonade, which is just a matte yellow shade. And then next Pineapple is like a shimmer yellow gold shade. Super pretty, but it's also a little bit chunky too. And then next we have the shade Popsicle. I've been using this with like every eye look for a transition shade. It's just like a matte orange shade. You can see a lot of the mattes are really subtle in this palette. And then Sunbathe is another matte orange shade. It has a little bit more of like a camel kind of color to it. And then moving into the third row, the shade Surf is really pretty. It's like a greenish yellow shade. It has a little bit of a yellow hint to it. You probably can't really see it on camera, but it is kind of like a green, blue, and yellow shimmer shade. And then the next shade is Coral, which is just a matte coral shade. I think those two like cotton candy colors would look really pretty together. Then we have the shade Island. I like this shade a lot. It's more like of an orangey shade. I wore this on my lid the other day and it just looked really pretty. Then we have the shade Sand, which is like a light beige shade. Very light, kind of like an eggshell color. And then Seashell is in my inner corner. This is just like the first shade of the last row. This is a really pretty kind of pink tone, but it's also more of a chunky shade. Like it does have more glitter to it. I'm gonna see if I can fit the last 3 shades on the top of my hand. This shade is Pinwheel. This is a really pretty color. Reminds me of a lot of shades in like the Naked Heat palette. And then Sandal is a matte, kind of like reddish brown shade. It's kind of the deeper matte shade other than the black shade. And the black shade is the last shade. I will put it probably on the side of my hand. And this is the shade Sunny, or Sunnies, like sunglasses. So those are all 20 shades in the palette. You can definitely see like the first like 6 or 7 shades are a lot more pigmented than the shades once you get to like the bottom. It's really the matte shades that are a lot more sheer and subtle. They're pretty easy to blend out, but you do need to build them up. So they don't go on patchy, but they go on really subtle. So you really do need to build up the mattes which I don't like about the palette, but then there's so many really pretty shimmer shades. But I could definitely use a little bit more of variety with the mattes, because really just the mattes that pop out are Oceanfront and Beach Ball, and they're kind of like the most least pigmented mattes in this palette. So those are all 20 shades swatch. I'm gonna go ahead into the eye tutorial so you guys can see how I got this look and just a little bit more about my thoughts about the formula with this palette. So I'm gonna start off with this shade Sun Bath in my crease. I'm just gonna go in with pretty much a lot of the orangey shades, maybe one or two of the pink shades. And this shade is kind of more of like a yellowy orange. It's one of the more light matte shades. And with some of the mattes, they do start off a bit sheer. Like I do need to dip into the palette quite a bit. And this is like a lighter shade. But with the darker shades especially, you do need to build them up a bit more. So I'm gonna add in this shade Popsicle, which is like a true orange shade, just into my crease to deepen it up a little bit. I'm also adding in this shade Flamingos to probably the outer third, mostly just to add more of like a pink tone. And especially the darker mattes. Like if you really want like a smokier kind of eye look that's still colorful, the darker mattes do sheer down quite a bit. And I've been sick for like 2 weeks now. I got sick in Vegas, yeah, about 10 days ago, and then I'm traveling across the country tomorrow morning, so I'm trying to get over that. But also my eyes have been puffy because I've been sick too, like my sinuses and everything. So my crease isn't gonna be like super precise, but I've been trying to make it work. I've been learning how to work with like swollen eyes for the past week or so. So that is what it looks like so far. So for sure, I'm gonna go in with the shade Sandal at the end, which is kind of like the darker brown orange shade. But even that one doesn't give like a lot of pigmentation, which I don't like with the matte shades, that they do stay very like mild or like more watered down and not like super vibrant. So I'm adding in this purple shade Bikini. I'm just adding it with my finger to start off, and then I'm gonna go over with a wet brush. But I find that some of the shimmers kind of apply a little bit better with your finger. But even so, like this shade, you can see how I'm applying it now, really takes some work to just get onto my eye. So let me go ahead and just switch to a brush. The only difference with a brush is that you are gonna get some more fallout because the shimmer shades are like foiled, and some of them have a little bit more of like a chunky feel to them. So I do really need to pack on a lot of the shadow to actually get that pigmentation. But I really do like this color, and I find that with a lot of the shimmer shades in this palette, you really do need to pack on. And even with the matte shades, it's basically like, that's my biggest complaint, it's that it's not as pigmented, but I just love like the color scheme. So I'm gonna go into a little bit of the shade Sandal in my outer corner, just to add a little bit more of a pop. But I do wish that we had like a true brown in here to really make it more vibrant. Do find that the mattes are pretty light. So for my inner corner, I really like this shade Seashell, and this is more of a kind of a glittery texture. Like it's definitely more thick. So I'm going in with a pencil brush to apply it. And I did wet my brush with Fix Plus. I just wanted a little bit, there we go, I like that. A little bit of a pop of pink. And then just to finish off my lower lash line, I'm going back and forth with the shade Popsicle and Sandal. I'm just gonna add both of those in with whatever brush, just a flat brush. So this is the completed look, and I do wish there was darker matte shades in this palette. Like I wish there was a deep like reddish purple shade. I would love that for my outer corner right now. I wish that I just want to add a little bit more extra to my outer corner. I just feel like it's not as intense as I want it to be, but I think it still looks pretty good. So that is the completed look. I'm gonna go ahead and just toss on some mascara and lashes and then finish up with this review. All right, so this is the completed eye look, and I really do like how it turned out. And I've used almost every shade in an eye look or swatched on my eye at least in this palette, especially the matte shades, and I think all of the shimmer shades I've applied on my eye because I wanted to test out all the shimmers. Like they are kind of like different formulas within them. Some of them swatch really gorgeous without any effort, and then some of them you do need to build up a little bit more. So there's some inconsistencies there. I typically have to really build up the mattes in this palette. Some of them, if I just want like a sheer color or just like a regular crease color, but if I want to do more of like a smokier look or just a deeper dramatic look with some of the matte shades, I'm not getting that with this palette. And part of that is that there aren't those deeper matte tones in this palette, but even like the shades that you would think could be really vibrant, like some of the redder, like deeper colors, you would think you could really build them up on the eye, or especially like in my outer corner, and they still, you really just need to pack them on a lot to get that pigmentation. And they don't build up right away. So the mattes are really like more of a letdown to me. So I haven't had any issue where my eye makeup like looks bad or anything like that, but it just takes a lot of extra blending that I don't like to do for a $45 palette. Like I really don't like to make more high-end palettes work. Like I already worked for the $45. I don't need to make the eyeshadow work, you know? So that's basically my biggest letdown, especially the matte shades. So if you're okay taking a little extra time to blend out your shadows and with less pigmented matte shades and just more of those foiled shimmer shades, then maybe you will like this palette. Like I've liked the looks. It's not like a frustrating palette to work with at all, but I just have way better palettes in my collection, way better formulas in my collection for that price point. So that's kind of how I feel about it. I don't think it's worth the $45. If it was like $25, $30 even, I would be a lot happier with it, but for $45, I don't think that the quality is there for the formula. Okay guys, so that is everything for this review of the Flamingo palette. I still want to do a couple more Instagram tutorials with this palette because it does have so many unique shades that I don't really have in my collection. And I just want to do more like fun and vibrant eye looks with it. And let me know if you guys pick this up, if you plan on purchasing it, in the comments down below. And if you guys like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll talk to you guys soon in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.